the name of Allah, the most kind and the most merciful. Assalamu alaikum. My name is Asya Abid, and today I'm going to discuss the introductory part of the poem Ode to the West Wind by Percy Bysshe Shelley. It was published in 1820 during Shelley's stay in Florence, Italy, but it was written in October 1819 when Shelley lost his son William, and the year before he had also lost his daughter Clara. Shelley himself was plagued by ill health, creditors, rumors of illegitimate children, and the failure of his political hopes. But he still wrote this poem, and which is often interpreted as an allegory for the revolutionary spirit of the time, reflecting his political ideals and hopes for societal change. But here's a question: why does the poem Ode to the West Wind relate to the complexities of escapism? It relates to the complexities of escapism through Shelley's own experiences of life. Escapism, the desire to retreat from the harsh realities of life, can be seen in Shelley's longing for the transformative power of the West Wind and his desire for liberation from personal and societal constraints. For example, desire for transcendence, where Shelley expresses a deep yearning to transcend his earthly limitations and merge with the powerful force of the West Wind. And it also represents escape from personal struggles. This poem is also a symbol of both destruction and renewal. And it teaches a lesson: as life is resurrected from death, revolution arises from stagnation, and creative power is revived from artistic sterility. Furthermore, in this poem, it composes 5 cantos. Each explores different aspects of the wind's power, such as influence over the earth, influence over the sea, and influence over the poet's spirit. The first 3 stanzas are devoted to a formal invocation. The wind is characterized and praised for its effect on earth, sky, and sea. In the 4th stanza, humanity enters, in which the speaker begins when he calls a prayer to the wind, asking to be mastered by it. And in stanza 5, the speaker increases his demands. He moves from wanting to be struck by the wind's force to desiring to be the wind's force itself. He wants to be like the wind and to explore the world without any hurdles, hardships, or anything which could stop him from moving forward in life. Now, Sidra will continue further this presentation.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Sidra Batul, and I'm going to discuss the background, historical context, and title of the poem. Ode to the West Wind was written by P.B. Shelley in 1819, a period marked by political upheaval and personal challenges for the poet. Shelley was an ardent supporter of social reform and radical change, reflecting the tumultuous spirit of his time. The poem was composed during a stay in Florence, Italy, a place where Shelley spent several years of his life in self-imposed exile due to his controversial political and religious views. The backdrop of the poem includes the aftermath of Petersburg Massacre in 1819, where peaceful protesters demanding for parliamentary reforms were violently suppressed. This event deeply influenced Shelley and fueled his revolutionary zeal. The poem's theme of renewal and transformation are often interpreted as Shelley's hope for political and social change. The poem is structured in 5 cantos, each exploring different aspects of wind's power, influence over the earth, the sea, and the poet's own spirit. Shelley utilized the west wind as a symbol of change and inspiration, invoking its ability to both destroy and create. The title Ode to the West Wind signifies a direct address and reverence to the west wind, which Shelley personifies throughout the poem. An ode is a form of lyrical poetry characterized by its elevated style and enthusiastic tone, typically praising or glorifying its subject. By choosing this title, Shailen set the stage for profound meditation on nature's power and the poet's desire to harness their power for creative and transformative purpose. That's all from my side.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Safa Uzair, and now I will proceed with the stanza wide summary. So, in first stanza, O wild west wind, thou breath of autumn being, thou from whose unseen presence the leaves dead are driven like ghosts from an enchanter fleeing, yellow and black and pale and hectic red. Pestilence stricken multitudes, O thou who chariotest to their dark wintry bed. The winged seeds where they lie and cold and low, each like a corpse within its graves, until thine azure sister of spring shall blow her clarion o'er the dreaming earth, and fill, driving sweet buds like flocks to feeding air, with the living hues and odors plain and hell. Wild spirit, which art moving everywhere, destroyer and preserver, hear, oh hear. So, in the opening stanza of the Ode to the West Wind, the speaker appeals to the wild west wind. Here he calls the wind the breath of autumn being, thereby further personifying the wind and giving it the human quality of having breath. He also described the wind as having unseen presence, which make it seem as though he views the wind as a spiritual being. He specifically refers to the wind as a spiritual being that drives away death and ghosts. Here he describes the dead autumn leaves. As you know, they are not described as colorful and beautiful, but rather as a symbol of death and even disease. The speaker talks about the deathly colors yellow, black, and pale in the stanza. So, even hectic red reminds one of the blood and sickness. He describes the dead and dying leaves as a pestilence stricken multitudes. This is not a peaceful or beautiful description of the fallen leaves. The wind then comes along like a chariot and carries the leaves to their dark wintry bed, which is clearly a symbol of grave. The speaker says that each is like a corpse until the wind comes through and taking away the dead but bringing new life. The speaker describes the wind as something that drives away death leaves, buries the dead, and brings new life. It brings living hues and odors which are filled with new life. And here the speaker again appeals to the wind, calling it a wild spirit and viewing it as a spiritual being who destroys and preserves leaves. He is asking the spirit to hear his pleas. Now move on to the next stanza. Stanza number 2. Thou on whose stream, mid the steep sky's commotion, loose clouds like earth's decaying leaves are shed. Shook from the tangled boughs of heaven and oceans, angles of rain and lightning there are spread on the blue surface of the thine air surge like the bright hair uplifted from the head of some fierce Maenad, even from the dim verge of the horizon to zenith's height, the locks of the approaching storm, thou dig of the dying year, to which this closing night will be the dome of the vast sepulchre. Vaulted with thy congregated might of vapors from whose solid atmosphere black rain and fire and hail will burst, O hear! Again, the speaker addresses the wind as a person, calling it the one who will loose clouds and shake the leaves of the boughs of heavens and ocean. This reads almost like a psalm, as if the speaker praises the wind for its power. Here, the speaker refers to and talk about the wind as a spiritual being more powerful than angels, for the angels of rain and lightning are described as being spread on the blue surface of the wind. He then describes this angel as being like the bright hair on the head of an even greater being. The speaker also compares the wind to a fierce Maenad, or the spiritual being that used to found around the Greek god Dionysus. Remember, Remember, this is the being that was also described as having hair like angels. Thus, these angels of rain and lightning reveal that a storm is on the way. The speaker also explained that the storm approaching is the impending doom of the dying year, and the use of sepulchre is interesting too, since this refers to a small room monument in which a person is buried, typically of Christian origin. Basically, a sepulchre is an isolating way of being buried, which could indicate a chalet wants to move away from all his miseries and be finally at one with nature. The speaker then describes the wind as a bringer of death. And here he described it as one who brings black rain, fire, and hail. Then, to end this stanza, the speaker again appeals to the wind, begging that it would hear him. Now move on to the stanza number 3. Thou, who didn't waken from his summer dreams, the blue Mediterranean, where he lay, lulled by the coil of his crystalline streams, beside a pumice Islay bay, and saw in sleep old places and towers, quivering within the waves' intenser day, and all overgrown with azure moss and flowers, so sweet the sense faints picturing them. Thou from whose path the Atlantic's level powers cleaves themselves into chasm, while far below the sea blooms and the oozy woods which wear the sapless foliage of the ocean now thy voice, and suddenly grow gay with filled with fear, and tremble and despoil themselves. Oh, here. So, firstly, to begin this stanza, the speaker described the wind as having woken up the Mediterranean Sea from the whole summer of the peaceful rest. With the stanza of the ode to the west wind, the speaker simply implies that the sea was dreaming of the old days of palaces and towers, and that he was quivering at the memory of an intenser day. The speaker continued talk about the sea dreams as being of slower days when everything was overgrown with blue moss and flowers. Then he hints that something is about to change when he mentioned the Atlantic powers. This stanza of Ode to the West Wind is in reference to the sea's reaction to the power of the wind. At the first sign of the strong wind, the sea seems to cleave into chasm and grow grey with fear as they tremble at the power of the wind. Again, this stanza, I think, reflects Zal in the worship of a god so mighty that the nature itself tremble in its sight. Thank you. That's all from my side.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Zainab and I'll be presenting stanza 4 and 5 of Ode to the West Wind. So in this stanza 4, Shelley continues to admire the west wind, his wish to become part of it, even the small elements of it, like he wrote dead leaf and wave, impulse, like he want to be liberated from his human creature and just want to be part of west wind at any cost, whatever it is cloud, wave, whatever. He actually thinks that being part of nature is freedom, while being a human being is gonna restrict him from being part of this universe the way nature is. The next lines talks about his boyhood and comparing it with his current age, which is adult life, and he's kind of admiring the boyhood and he's missing those days. He thinks that he lost his belonging to nature. He thinks that once he was a boy in his childhood, he was having a better connection with nature rather than his adulthood. So as he wrote, I bleed The word bleed reveals his acute suffering. He just wanted the wind to take him out of his human creature, and just take him to wind element, whatever the leaf is, or I described earlier. So the last line of this stanza describe, like, despite his inherent qualities, he feels weighed down by time and existence. He yearned for the wind to restore his lost vitality and freedom. The next stanza is full of metaphors and imaginative elements. Like the first line, he compares himself to a lyre. It's like a musical instrument. He believes that the lyre and the forest both share the same thing, that is wind. They produce sound by the force or influence of wind. This metaphor over here signifies his wish to be an instrument through which the wind can channel its mighty harmonies. The next line again has metaphor. Like Shelley envisions his thoughts and words being scattered like withered leaves to quicken a new birth. So this metaphor of dissemination and renewal signifies his aspiration for his poetry to inspire and awaken humanity. So the next line, again, it's showing the potential for Shelley to regeneration and retransformation of the world. This metaphor of an unextinguished heart conveys the enduring and pervasive impact of his poetic voice. The next line is about the new generation or the next era, and Shelley's wishing for the wind to be the trumpet of a prophecy. It signifies his hope that his poetry will herald a new era of awakening and change.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I'm Sakya Majid and I'm going to discuss about the themes of the West Wind or to the West Wind. There are three important themes of War to the West Wind. First is death and rejuvenation, second is freedom, and third is power of poetry. Now I'm going to discuss death and rejuvenation. Throughout Or to the West Wind, the speaker paints the West Wind as a force that simultaneously possesses the abilities of destruction and restoration. This is depicted in the poem Or to the West Wind through the language of death and rebirth. In the first sonnet, we see this is the changing of the seasons from fall to winter to spring. In the fall, the wind pulls the leaves dead from trees, a scene that looks to the speaker like fleeing ghosts and sick masses of people. And then during the winter, that the seed lie, each like a corpse within its grave, and waiting until spring revives the natural world by blowing a trumpet over the earth. The theme of the west wind, representing both death and life, persists throughout the poem. It serves as a commentary on the nature of change, which lies at the core of the poem. The speaker seems to suggest that radical change cannot occur without losing something, and as such, this losing should not be viewed as inherently negative, as it is essential aspect of improving the world. Another important theme is of freedom. The idea that freedom is essential in a life well lived runs throughout to the West Wind. This is seen especially in the fourth section of the poem, in which the speaker hails the wind as "oh uncontrollable." Uncontrollable, he goes on to say that aging has cost him the freedom he once enjoyed as a boy, and he wishes he could still be young and as free as the wind. The wind's freedom from the typical burdens of modern life make it particularly attractive target for the speaker. He seems to suggest that we should all try to resemble the wind in this way, as an alternative is to fall upon the thrones of life. Now I'm going to discuss the power of poetry. Between the lines of the poem can be found that speakers are urgent desire of his poetry to have a revolutionary effect similar to that of the wind in the natural world. He wishes to become their lyre and have the wind speak through him, suggesting that he wants his words to act as a vehicle for radical change. He also asks the wind by the incantations of the words through this very poem to spread his words through humanity, and he hopes these words signals the trumpet of a prophecy, an indication of what is to come. Contained within this plea is an argument about the radical potential of poetry. The speaker suggests that poetry can contain all the power of the natural world, and as a result all of its ability to change the earth itself. That's all from my side. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum, my name is Nimar Wakar and I'm going to discuss a stylistic feature of the poem Ode to the West Wind. Ode to the West Wind is renowned for its rich use of literary devices that enhance the poem's thematic depth and emotional intensity. First, I'm going to discuss from personification. The West Wind is personified extensively, depicted as a powerful and almost divine force capable of bringing change and renewal. Uh, Though on whose stream, mid the steep sky's commotion, loose cloud like earth decaying, leaves are shed. In these lines, personification is used. Here, the wind is given the ability to control and influence the element, emphasizing the omnipotence. Next, I'm going to discuss simile and metaphors. Shelley employs similes and metaphors to draw vivid comparisons that highlight the vivid wind's characteristics and effects. Uh, Loose cloud like earth's decaying, leaves are sheds. Here, simile is used. The clouds are compared to falling leaves, illustrate the wind's role in the seasonal cycle of decay and rebirth. Next, I'm going to discuss metaphor. Make me the lyre, even as the forest is. Shelley metaphorically wishes to become an instrument played by the wind, suggesting a desire to harmonize with its power. Next, I'm going to discuss symbolism. The West Wind symbolizes various themes, including change, destruction, and renewal. It acts as a powerful agent of transformation both in nature and within the poet's own spirit. Divine might that thought over the universe, like withered leaves to quicken a new birth. Here the wind symbolizes the dissemination of ideas and the potential for intellectual and spiritual renewal. Here in this poem, alliteration is also used. For example, wild west wind and also withered leaves are examples of alliteration. Next and last but not least, I'm going to discuss imagery. Shells employ vivid imagery to paint detailed picture of the scenes influenced by the west wind, from skies to the ocean and the forest. Uh, though who didst waken from his summer dream, the blue Mediterranean where he lay. In these lines, the imagery of the tranquil Mediterranean Sea begins, stirred by the wind, captured the dramatic impact of the wind's force. The real use here, imagery can also be found when Shelley described the fallen leaves as yellow and bleak and pale and hectic red. Thank you so much. That's all from my side.
I would like to conclude by saying Ode to the West Wind is a passionate appeal for change in the outside world as well as the intellectual sphere. Shelley hopes that his lyrical vision will bring joy and inspire future generations, which is why he calls on the wind to spread his ideas and words. The poem expresses a strong conviction in the lasting force of nature as well as the possibility of advancement and rebirth through revolutionary and creative energy.